We learn that after the unfortunate and untimely death by dirt hole of Callisto, Xena and Gabrielle have been roaming around trying to pick off the remains of her army. Xena wanders off one evening, conveniently alone, and sees someone lurking out in the mysteriously verdant and tropical forest, and the man turns around and da-da-da, it's Ares! And Ares is all, you know, his normal sexy McSmirks-a-lot self. And Ares is basically there to let her know that after her totally hardcore display against Callisto, he is ready to once again extend his offer to have Xena come join his side. And then it just all goes weird, which should surprise essentially no one at this point in the show. Because suddenly Callisto is there and Xena is like killing her with this incredible slow motion, inevitable stabbity motion. And then she wakes up because, oh, it was just a dream. But are you ready to be inceptioned? Because it is in fact a dream within a dream. Oh! So yeah, things in Xena's head right now are pretty trippy, and honestly, considering the really tropical look that Greece is having this time of year, I kind of have suspected the whole thing to be the result of a monkey bite from like a hallucinogenic monkey. And I don't really know if those exist, but I think that would make an awesome episode of Xena, and the writers should really have called me because, yeah, I was 14, but you know what? I knew better. I had good ideas. Why couldn't I share them? Probably because most of them would have involved Joxer. But they did kind of listen to me because Joxer is there, and he's, you know, tied up and left in some barn thing. I don't really know. But it's awesome to see you. Hello, Joxer. I love you. And Gabrielle really kind of picks up on the fact that Xena is not really her normal chipper for Xena self. And Xena manages to ignore all of Gabrielle's best attempts to get her into some under-the-covers snuggle time, and if you think I'm lying, then you haven't seen this episode recently. And Xena wanders off and goes to sleep again. Or at least that's what we figure she does, because she follows Callisto into this mystical, magical dream world, which is basically some really fake-looking rocks and a whole lot of smoke machine. And Callisto's all like, oh, sucker, I got you. I have just been chillaxing here in Tartarus. And it turns out that I can go into your dreams because apparently I'm just that special and cool. Oh, sake, I got Ares on my side. So he's taking a shine to Callisto, and the two of them start ganging up on Xena and get her to admit, okay, yes, fine, she feels a little guilty for that whole, you know, leaving Callisto to die right in front of her and not helping at all thing. And bad move, Xena, because it turns out that if you admit that you are guilty about something, just go with me here, just go with me, in Tartarus, which is where they are, then apparently you get stuck there? I don't really know how this happens. All I know is that Xena wakes up again back in Greece, but oh, it ain't Xena, because you know what this is? That's right, it's a body swap episode. Kerching! Yeah. And, you know, if we hadn't figured out before that this is where this whole thing was going, Xena stands up and is all like, okay, Gabrielle, wait here, I have to go do something, and walks off into the forest and finds Ares, and there's kissing with tongues. But back to Xena, who is stuck down in Tartarus. Basically, Hades comes up, and he's all like, hey, what's going on? It seems a little wacky down here. And Xena's all like, oh my god, Hades, it's Xena. Ha 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 ha, I'm not actually Callisto, you gotta help me out. And then Hades, 1 second, is all like, oh, you will not fool me this time, Callisto, for lo, you are a lying liar who lies. Oh, wait, I totally believe you. Here, go out and have a day on your own in the world with no supervision, and I'm just taking it on faith here. Go have fun, bye! But back to Callisto and Gabrielle and Argo the Wonder Horse, because Callisto is still working on Gabrielle and is trying to convince her that, hey, you know, if ever you should just happen to run into Callisto again, it would be really awesome if you would kill her this time. I mean, I'm not saying I know that that's a possibility, but I'm just saying it would be really fulfilling for all of us. And as she convinces Gabrielle, she whips out her ever-present boob dagger and starts affixing it to Gabrielle's staff. And Argo is essentially doing everything in his horsey power to be like, hello, Gabrielle, have you never read the ancient scrolls of TV Tropes? Because this is body swap, this is not your Xena! But alas, Gabrielle, for all her knowledge and all of her wisdom, and all their ability to speak to the heart, cannot actually speak to the heart of a horse. Because, you know, interspecies stuff is a little weird. And so all of Argo's efforts is for naught. And so Callisto runs off for some sexy times with Ares, and when she gets back, she sends Gabrielle off alone, and then basically punches Argo in the face, and like, not okay. Xena comes along next, because the next scene is actually the real Xena coming along and finding Argo, and the poor thing is halfway to being a shish kebab. But luckily Xena knows the arts of the magical healing herbs, and all will be well. And then is interrupted by my beloved Joxer, who, you know, sees Callisto and starts to freak out. Understandably, Joxer, we don't blame you for anything. There's just love and support here. There is just love and support. And, you know, the fact that Xena uses the pokey pokey to convince him that it is in fact her. Now, it's around this time that Callisto goes into the camp of her former soldiers. And the soldiers, led by their leader, Van, whose name, of course, I do not remember, is all like, everyone, throw down your weapons, for lo, it is Xena, and Xena will not hurt us if we do not threaten her, so throw down your weapons and live! And, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of good logic, but kind of not, because I would still say that the better course of action is running in the opposite direction. I mean, really? But the thing is, in the middle of all of his, ha ha ha, Xena won't hurt us, Callisto's all like, ha ha ha, stab. And then he's dead. So, Callisto takes his army, which amounts to like 12 dudes, and they all go off to Amphipolis. Now, Xena is able to figure out what Callisto's cunning plan must be, because Callisto's family all died in a fire, and so she's pretty sure that Callisto is going to burn the entire village of Amphipolis, and not cool. But lucky for all, Xena has a still more cunning plan with which to defeat Callisto's cunning plan. It's very cunning. Now, Ares is beginning to come to the conclusion that he may have backed the crazy horse in this race, because Callisto refuses to give up the opportunity to get revenge on Xena and Gabrielle. And much to his credit, Ares pretty much says, yeah, you know what, you're an idiot, I'm out of here, and then he vamooshes, and I don't think we see him again for the rest of the episode, which is kind of an asshole thing to do, but honestly, I would probably take off too, because when Callisto gives you the crazy eye, it doesn't really lessen the impact when she's in Xena's body while she does it. So we come at last to the inevitable moment. All of the members of this 12-person army are there with torches, ready to light on fire the poor people of Amphipolis who have been conveniently rounded up and stuck in cages in a cave. Why? I don't know, you'd think their own houses would be more flammable, but hey, what do I know? I just make videos on YouTube. We do finally see Xena's cunning plan, however. Xena's plan, it turns out, involves dousing the actual torch-bearing henchmen with flammable materials, namely oil. And so once these guys figure out that they're holding a torch, and they themselves might burst into flames at any moment, they douse the torches and skedaddle. So Xena has saved the people of Amphipolis, which, yay, except there's that whole part about where her 24 hours is apparently up, and she starts to return to Tartarus. But as she begins to sparkle and disappear, she manages to whip out a little blow dart thingy and tags Callisto with something. And Xena wakes up back in Tartarus, and because Callisto fell asleep from what was in the dart, Callisto wakes up there too. Now, remember that weird and totally undefined thing about how it's a really bad idea to feel guilt in Tartarus? That's essentially Xena's second cunning plan on top of that first cunning plan, because she starts to make all of these people from Callisto's past that are all dead come up out of Tartarus and essentially try to guilt trip Callisto into feeling bad about all the terrible things that she's done. But really, what this boils down to is that Xena defeats Callisto with the cunning application of zombies, which I don't think any of us were prepared for that to happen when this episode began. But the zombies work, and Callisto feels guilty and is stuck in Tartarus, and Xena is whipped back out into the regular world, except for the part where she's still stuck in Callisto's body, which, unexpected, am I right? I was expecting to totally hit the reset button by the end of this episode and everything be back to the status quo, but no! Xena, you have surprised me. Well done. Well done. Argo was not harmed during the production of this motion picture. She is, however, undergoing extensive psychotherapy to help her work through her resentment and distrust towards Xena.